Hello, friends. Today is Friday, June 12th, and it is 77 degrees outside and pretty humid, and I'm going to be doing an inspection on my two top bar hives. To my right, we have Summer Island in the blue there, and to my left, we have Grumblewood in yellow. It's been a few weeks since I have inspected the hives. The last time I was in, the bee numbers had built up to a pretty full-strength hives. They hadn't really started any honey production at that point yet. And so what I'll be looking for today in both hives is a lot of new comb to have been built, maybe some capped honey, and a lot of nectar collection. In Summer Island in particular, I'm curious and concerned about cross comb that had developed last time between some of the bars of the hive. So we'll see if any of that's corrected itself and how any new comb that they've built is, and if that's having some of the same issues. So with that, let's just get started. We'll start today over at Grumblewood. So I'm gonna smoke the hive a little bit with my smoker. Not sure if you can see the smoke coming out, but there it is. I'm gonna lightly smoke into the front door of the hive. And then again, they have a little side door on this hive. I'm gonna blast smoke into there as well. And now they've been building so much that I have less and less space to balance my computer for the stream. So that's a good problem to have. The situation, what I mean by that is that the top bar hive is about 4 feet long, uses this divider. So you put bars up at the front where the colony is starting and living, and then you slowly move the divider back, adding more and more bars so that the bees have more space as they grow. So we are going to start from the back with this inspection. And we'll need to get the hive tool out. So they've done a lot of propolizing, it seems. Everything is really stuck in place. Propolis is the tree resin that the bees go and collect from trees in the area, and they use it to just glue everything together, plug up any gaps of airflow, and just make sure that everything is all sealed tight. And so I need to sort of crack that open a little bit in order to move things and get in there. So moving the backboard back a little bit. And then let's start from the back. So right at the back, we have an empty bar. They haven't built anything on this. So we're going to go ahead and just move it to the side for right now. All right. Let's get a little bit more smoke in the hive. Calm down a little bit. I also have my sugar syrup, which will serve as a good distraction for when I don't want to use too much smoke. All right, so let's see what the next bar looks like. I think they may have started building on this bar, but we'll shortly find out. Yeah. So they are just beginning to build on this bar, and those are chains of bees hanging onto each other, festooning, as it's called, where they build these little bridges of bees just holding hands, and they'll be building out comb in the middle of those, and the natural arc that they're hanging in is the shape that they'll be building the comb into at the start. So just getting started on that bar, but good to see. They're already that far back in the hive. Now they're festooning between that bar. I left a gap. I don't know if they'll still be able to be seen, but they're hanging between the two bars. It's quite a gap. It's a very dramatic scene in there right now. So let's see what's next. All right. This is another new bar. Whoop. Yowzer. So it looks like we might have a bit of a cross comb situation going, but there's a little bit of comb safely attached to this hive. But I think that the next comb back was supposed to be attached to this bar and is instead connected to the bar behind it. So we'll see if there's 2 bits of comb on this next bar or what's going on. All right, so moving right along. This is another bar that was added recently. What have we got here? No, okay. All right. So the issue isn't that they're connected multiple bits of comb to any given bar. Right now, they're just building the comb very much off to the side of each bar, which we may want to straighten out. But also, if these are, oh no, there's eggs in here. So this is brood nest. Curious. Yeah, so they're just building off to the side of these bars, which isn't ideal. Ideally, they would be building right in the middle of each bar, but it's not also the end of the world for right now. So I think we'll be leaving that where it is. And now we are going to check out the next bar after that. Let's see what we have here. These sets of bars were added recently. I asked my instructor to come while I was away to add some bars. So there were a few bars added to the front of the hive about a week ago. And that's the bars I've been showing so far. They're not numbered. I will add numbering later. So what do we have? Pretty heavy, whatever it is. This is a lot of comb that they've built. I'm trying to see if there's eggs in it. Yeah, it does look like they have eggs in here. So the queen is adding nests or adding brood really close to the back of the hive, or closer to the back of the hive than I'd maybe ideally like. And I think that's because I opened up a door halfway down the hive. That was the idea of that, was to make it easier for them to get to where they should be keeping the nectar to turn into honey. But queens lay eggs close to doors, so she's laying her eggs in this middle section. We'll see if she's still laying eggs in this front section, but we may want to plug that door up and just try to encourage her to keep the nest area in the front and the honey area entirely in the back. So let's take a look. Now we're back to bars from the previous inspection that I did. So this is a numbered bar, numbered 36. And let's see what's going on. All right, so we have this is definitely a nest area. We have a mix of worker brood, a little bit of honey at the top for some food for the nurse bees there. Just watched a bee come out of her cell. That's always really exciting to watch a bee be born. Just generally pretty healthy looking comb over here. There is some drone brood on the back. Drone brood is the male, where the male bees are developing, and if the queen is laying drones, that can mean one of two things. It can sometimes mean that the queen is getting old and doesn't have much left in her in order to lay the workers. Or on the flip side, it can mean that the hive is doing really well and that they have enough resources that they feel like they can create some male bees and try to spread those genetics to the world. So it's more likely to be that situation, just because there's a lot of bees in here. The hive's looking pretty healthy. And so I would expect them to still be queen right. The other possibility when you're seeing drone cells is that you have a working worker bee a laying worker bee. That's when a worker bee starts laying eggs because they've lost a queen, and worker bees can never lay female eggs because they've never been fertilized, and that's a situation where the hive is on the way out. There's no real recovery from that when you've gotten to that stage, but I don't think we're there because I've also been seeing worker cells. So we're on to this hive, which is number 35. There was a little bit of it that had been bonded to bar number 8 behind it, but for the most part, it came out fairly clean. And this is almost entirely worker brood, which is looking really good. Yeah, this is just a healthy set of worker brood. There's bees that are freshly cleaning out a cell that they'll have just walked out of. So bees, being born as we speak. A lot of activity in there, looking really healthy. So we're gonna try to get that back in without any damage. Excuse me, friends. Excuse me. Trying not to squish anybody, but they're hanging out in the gap. Come on, bud. There you go. All right. All right. So moving along to bar number 8. They must have found a lot of tree resin, because they've done a great job of gluing this up since I was last in with the propolis. All right, so what do we got here? This is another pretty heavy bar, so let's see what's on it. We have a mix of larvae. We have some cap brood. There's some honey at the top. And a few drone bees in there. Yeah, just a generally healthy looking set. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and put that back for right now. I've not seen the queen castor just yet, so we're keeping our eyes open for her. But given that we've been seeing eggs and worker brood, I'm not actually particularly worried about seeing her in the flesh. She can, I just believe that she's around because the hive is looking, for the most part, healthy. This is a slightly different story here all of a sudden. I guess this is just almost entirely drones. So this will have been a response to just really good hive numbers, I hope. Again, because there's worker brood elsewhere, I'm not so worried about seeing drone brood. But that is a lot of it. So I'm just going to do some research after this and make sure I feel okay about what I'm seeing here. Yeah. All right. Moving right along. Let's see what we got. So that bar was unnumbered. Need to go in and add numbers for that. All right, here we have bar number 6. This is mostly worker brood, almost entirely worker brood. So just a generally healthy looking brood bar here. Yeah, not much to write home about here. This is just a bunch of brood cells, so they are ready to keep being born. All right, next up we have bar number 33. More worker brood, a lot of nest here that they have going. Yeah, this is almost entirely worker brood with a little bit of larvae at the edges and then some empty cells from where bees have already been born. All right, right along. Next up, we have bar number 18. It's coming out very cleanly. This is mostly empty. So this had been worker brood before. They've all been born. It has not really been repurposed just yet. There's some honey along the top. And some still cap brood at the bottom that I assume will be hatching in the next couple days, and we'll see what they use this bar for next. All right. Next up, we have bar number 34. This is, yeah, more of the same. A lot of capped worker brood, some larvae. Things generally looking pretty good. Healthy laying patterns for the most part. Yeah, where there's not actually capped brood, it looks like they have some water cells, just storing water around. So everything's in use over here. All right. So next up, we have a bar number 31. Ooh. Toss it around a little bit. So what do we have here? We have some capped brood. We have a lot of pollen. It seems like they're keeping a lot of pollen in this bar. And just looks like a few stragglers. Oh, actually, there's some young larvae in there also. So the sort of theme that I'm noticing in Grumblewood right now is that I believe as a result of me opening that side bar halfway down is that they're making their brood nest throughout pretty much the full length of the space available to them, whereas I'd like them to focus it more to the front, which is what they would naturally do if they only had that front door open. So I think I will be plugging up that side door just to try to encourage them to keep that nest at the front, and honey at the back. Here we have a mix of capped worker brood, some capped drone brood, and some uncapped drone larvae, and a whole lot of pollen stores. Not right away. I'm also not seeing as much nectar as I maybe expected to be seeing at this stage, so I may start up with supplemental feeding again just to make sure that they have enough sugar for them to stay healthy. I've been sort of expecting them to have. Hello, guy. Got one exploring my ankle right now. Sort of tickles. All right. Let's just keep going though and see what's left in the rest of this hive, and then get back. This is wow. This is a lot of pollen they have in this. So the pollen, they gather all the pollen and they put pollen from each cell only has pollen from any individual plant, and then they heat it up and bake it into something called bee bread. So when they as a unit get it up to a high enough temperature, the pollen converts into this sort of fluffy bread-like substance that they feed mostly to the larvae and use to keep providing that protein source for the hive. The nectar is where they get carbohydrates and is mostly for adults. And pollen is mostly protein, which is for the wee ones. Alrighty, next up, bar number 32. Whole lot of pollen. Whole lot of pollen. Oh, and a lot of bees with their pollen baskets going. The pollen baskets are when bees are out gathering pollen, they gather it up in their legs, and then they spit on it a little bit, and then they stick it to their back legs. And so they have these sort of hard, polished balls of pollen on their back legs, and that's they affix it to the hairs on their back legs, which are known as the pollen basket. So I'm seeing a bunch of bees that are currently in the process of having their friends take the pollen off of the baskets and put it into these storage cells where it'll be baked into bread. I'm also seeing a few drone bees around, which is sort of neat. They're so much bigger than the other bees. They don't do any useful work, but they're still kind of cool to see. And especially when there's been as much healthy worker brood as I'm seeing, I'm not worried at all about seeing the male bees around, because I'm not worried about this being a hive without a queen. All right, next up, bar number 19, which has a bunch of pollen, some capped worker brood, some capped drone brood, some honey, just a general mix of everything. This is one of the bars that has had a hair comb repair on it. That was completely just a huge success, so that's great to see. Oops. And that's that. All right. This is bar number 14, and this has, a bunch of capped worker brood, some pollen, some honey at the top. General same story. This is just a hive with a really massive nest area, spanning 15 bars, it seems. So we will encourage them to try to condense that to the front, as I've said, but it's pretty cool to see this huge colony that has a lot of bees in it really thriving. So there is a lot of positives to take away from this. This front bar is sort of stuck in and breaking a little bit when I try to move it. So I'm actually just going to leave it in place because I've seen enough of this hive right now. I didn't lay eyes on Queen Castor, but I saw enough eggs and capped worker brood and larvae that at this moment I'm not worried about her being missing or anything like that. So that's it for Grumblewood. Let's hop on over to Summer Island and see what's going on there. I was just relighting my smoker here a little bit. Make sure that it's putting some out so that I can use it to calm the bees. All right, so Summer Island is where we've had problems with crosscomb in the past, so we're going to see how that's developed and see if we need to take any corrective action right now. And if so, try to determine what sort of action we're going to take. So let's get started. Summer Island appears to use the top of their hive as a bathroom. There's quite a few spots of what looks to be bee pee or bee poop, but they just have a single. They don't have pee and poop. They just got the one, and it looks more like pee because it's a little yellow dot. But wow, they've built a lot. Woo! This is kind of cool because earlier in the season, Grumblewood was definitely the more productive hive, like in terms of building comb and their numbers at the start. And I was kind of worried about Summer Island, but just from opening it up, they've already filled up nearly 2/3 of the hive with comb. So let's get in there, and hopefully the comb's pretty straight, so it's not throwaway work on their part. But from what I'm seeing, I am pretty happy so far. All right, so right at the back here, we have a little bit of fresh comb that they've built. Not really using it yet. They started to put a little nectar in, but not a whole lot, which is totally fine. That's just brand new work that they've done. All right. For my note purposes, I'm going to just for this pass, because there's a few unnumbered bars in here, I'm going to say just bar 1 from the back and count up, even though those aren't the numbers on the bar. I'll go back and revise my notes later. That's for me, not for the audience. All right. So next, this is another bit of new comb. Wow, they've really filled this with nectar. So this is comb that they've built in about a week and a half since as I said, my instructor had come over and added some new bars while I was away, and this will have been one of those bars. So they've really really built quite a fair amount. What I'm just sort of doing is trying to straighten it a little bit. It's not too bad, but I just want it to be as straight as possible at the edges so they continue with that straight pattern. That's really awesome. The bees on my leg hair just never stop tickling me. All right, so next up, this one is a little bit connected to the side of the hive, which is sort of something interesting. Last year, that happened a lot with Grumblewood, the other hive I have. And I had to, every time I was going in the hive, make sure that I separated like each of the bars before going in. But this year, a new colony in that hive, but they have not sealed to the side once. And I think it might be because of the almost memory of the hive of it's just not a sustainable place to be sealing things. And I had some bars of the right shape. So everything in Grumblewood, they don't stick to the side at all anymore. They always build these really cleanly separable bars. But here at Summer Island, which is new for this year, they do seem to be sticking to the side here and there. But the good news is that in the new build that they're doing, it's all pretty straight. There's little curves at the edges, which I'll try to manipulate just with my fingers, just bending it straight. But this is looking really good. This is a lot of pollen or nectar rather that they've connected. They are cranking their honey production facility here, and I'm super excited by it. So I think I'm actually going to be adding spacers between these bars. So I had spacers between honeycomb bars because the bees naturally make honeycomb wider. And one of the advantages of the top bar hive is that you can allow the bees to build however wide they want to be able to build their comb for whatever purpose they're building it for. Oh, wow. All right, I have to separate this one as well. This is pretty exciting. What's happening here? Which one is this? Oops, put one of these in backwards so they can fit next to each other. Always have to try to preserve the orientation, both just so they fit because they're like puzzle pieces, but also because it's confusing. If you had a map of your home city, or in your head you have a map of your home city, and if they just swap the location of two roads, including all of the buildings and houses on them, it would be pretty hard for you to adapt. So you want to try to keep their mental layout of the hive accurate. So another one that they've connected to the side. Oh, you got me. A little sting on the finger. That's all right, but I am gonna light the smoker because I do want to keep on with this inspection, and I want to make sure they're as calm as they can be. All right. All right, so I'm just adding some smoke in there, try and calm them down, double up with some sugar. All right, and with that, we can keep going. So I was in the process of, hey, buddy. Just making sure that there's not, enough attack pheromones on me for them to be unpacifiable at the moment, which might be the case. We'll see. They seem a little bit agitated at the moment, to be honest. They're not enraged by any means. They're pretty quiet. But in the area that I've opened, they are not thrilled with my presence. So we will see if they will allow me to continue or if I'll have to close up early. Either way, the stream might end early because it looks like my computer is running out of battery. So if that's the case, thanks for watching. And I will continue sending out updates. They were angry because this is another part of a brood nest area. There's a bunch of honey on this, but there's also a bunch of larvae. Summer Island, I've found, has always been very defensive of their queen, so even more so maybe than other hives, whenever I've gone near the queen in terms of just inspecting those bars in Summer Island is when I've been stung. So I wouldn't wager that she is around. They're doing a lot of the they're sort of fly at you and headbutt you situation. Not always actually stinging. But let's try to keep going here because I really would like to see all the wonderful work that they've done since I've last been in. All right. They are still buzzing up a storm, but they're not actually attacking me. So we're going to just keep at it. Woo! Already slightly agitated, and I kind of tossed that bar around when I went in it. So as you can see, they are up in arms about it, but they're not actually showing signs of real anger here in terms of I haven't been stung since that initial sting. So I'm not actually all right, they got me again. I am actually going to close up just because I've aggregated them a bit more than I'd like to, and they're not too thrilled with me right now. So let's just go ahead and close up the hive, and we'll come back another time and see what they're up to. Overall, really thrilled with what they've done so far since I've last been in. They've just built a tremendous amount, and are really getting going with their honey production. So really, really happy with my inspection of Summer Island. The bees of Summer Island are less happy with my inspection, but hopefully we will get on better next time I'm in town. I try to be a good landlord, but sometimes when you show up unannounced to your tenant's place, they don't love it. And they are not loving it right now. So we will be back. But yeah, just so excited with what I've seen from them. They show a lot of promise. It's all right, guys. I'm out of your hair in a second. Just gonna close things up for you, give you a dark space back, and let you get back to life. So I am gonna give them more space, I think I may actually give them the rest of the space available, just because they are really building well right now. I want them to keep that up for sure. Maybe not the rest of the space, but certainly a few bars of space here. All right. But in a lot of ways, I saw all I needed to see right now. I know that this hive has a really healthy population. I saw some nests being, and some capped worker brood in there in my little time in, and I saw that they're cranking out comb and honey production. So I am really, really excited for the future of this hive.